Let us discuss the origin of the emotions and see how we can make the best use of this power. The origin of this bhava is kama, the prime desire that creates emotion, that creates turmoil in the lake of the mind. Kama is the mother of all emotions. Kama is desire itself. If you think, I have desire for this success in life, and I have desire for another cup of chai, and I have a desire to go to that place, or I have a good desire to go to have a conversation with that person. Notice that in each case is the word desire. Very important to understand this. So there is such a thing as the desire itself, regardless what the object of desire is. And that desire is called kama. So it's the desire for, kama itself. Hence, as Swamiji says here, kama is the mother of all emotions. It gives birth to all of the other emotions because there is desire itself, desire for this, for that, for the other. Since desire itself, kama itself, is mixed with selfishness, kama itself does not motivate one to serve others, but controls one's life and makes one self-centered. Because most of these desires are for somebody called me. It builds a boundary around one and isolates him from the whole. The more one has that desire, kama, the more he contracts his personality and is prevented from expanding his level of consciousness. So desire, kama, is the prime factor of all motivations. And actions are performed according to the types of one's desires. When one wants to fulfill a desire, he thinks. So the desire comes, it wants to be fulfilled, that leads to thinking. Then comes to a conclusion, and then, step 3, acts accordingly. There are a variety of desires, active, passive, positive, negative, in the conscious and unconscious mind. And they come up to the surface and disturb the thinking process. But as it is important to understand the thinking process, it is even more important to understand the emotions which can disturb the thinking process. One can easily understand his inner being by finding out what types of desires one has. Because why? Desire leads to, first there's a desire, then there's a subsequent thinking process, mostly unconsciously, and then leads to a conclusion, again, often unconscious, and then there's an action that comes from that, what he just said there. All desires arise from 4 primitive fountains. These are self-preservation, sleep, food, and sex. As far as these fountains are concerned, human beings and animals are alike. A human being sleeps, takes food, has sex, is always concerned with self-preservation. So also is the case with animals. The difference is that in the animal kingdom, all activities are controlled and governed by nature, while human beings have the willpower to regulate and ultimately control these 4 appetites, and thus they are superior to all living creatures in the world. And then he's going to go through and talk about each of these 4 primitive over several pages, and as we know, he's written about these elsewhere in other books and in recorded lectures, talked about them extensively. So there's brief summaries here. But a key part of what we're looking at is to remember this word kama. Not karma, kama. K-A-M-A, the way it's written. And that there is such a thing as prime desire, and that it literally means desire itself. regardless of what the desire is for. Now he's saying that all of those instances of kama, of desire, come from some combination of 4 sources for all of us. And the way in which they are particularized for each of us as individuals is our own individual pool of samskaras, or deep habit patterns. So my deep habit patterns are different from yours, probably similar, but different details. We all have a different pool of experiences in life, so the exact memory traces, attachments, attractions, and aversions, the exact ones are different. But they all have the common root of these 4 urges. And then from that comes the desire called kama, which leads then to a thinking process, mostly unconscious, which then leads to a conclusion and an outcome in the form of action. And this then becomes a part of that analysis step that we looked at the end of being still. Remember, part 1 of the steps, observe everything, and then there was a part of analysis of that. And so this gives us a deeper framework in which and how to do that analysis. So he starts here with the strongest of the 4 primitive fountains is self-preservation. People are always trying to protect themselves. They are afraid because they don't want to die. In a calamity like an earthquake, I have even seen mothers leave very young children and run away to protect themselves because of their strong desire to live. The biggest fear is the fear of death. It is one thing that haunts us all the time. What will happen to me if I die, if my wife dies? Most are insecure all the time because of this fear, because dying is a natural process and all relationships are temporary because of it. This is true, and if the truth makes one insecure, then he is never safe anywhere he goes. Nothing can make one secure if the truth cannot. But the truth is that there is no security anywhere. It is better for one to live with the truth than to live with insecurity. For insecurity that comes from truth is good, and he will eventually enjoy it. Every relationship is temporary. While all great people have achieved a state of fearlessness, most people live under the pressure of fear all the time. All fears are self-created. They come from a desire to obtain something which one is not fully equipped to attain. There's that kama again. All fears are self-created. They come from kama, a desire to obtain something which one is not fully equipped to attain. Fears develop in the mind, and if they are not examined and understood, they grow. If one keeps all his fears within, then he will become neurotic. The main root of all dangers is fear, and the habit of being afraid usually invites danger.